Fizz, which one of those three teams atop the Eastern Conference needs that top seed the most?
Well, I don't know if it's as much about needed. I think this year is unique from the standpoint of you won't have a serious fan base in the building that's going to really put the pressure on the other team and really squeeze the other team when times get tough. But if I had to pick one team, I would say it's the team that's in first place right now, which is Philly. And I say that only because they got the two youngest stars who haven't really been battle tested enough, I don't think. And this will be their test. But also, I think they're limited in small guard playmaking and guys that can break you down off the dribble and make plays when the offense goes stagnant. They can push the pace and get easy baskets for you. And I think out of all of those teams, they have the least amount of guys that can do that. And so having home court will allow them most likely to be able to be comfortable in their skin and play at their pace and play their game through Embiid.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is debatable. Those top three seeds, 1, 2, and 3, all capable of getting not only to the NBA Finals, but winning the championship. So that's the top three as we take a look now at the Eastern teams currently in the play-in mix in that tournament that's been talked about so much. You look Celtics, Heat, Hornets, Pacers, Wizards, Raptors, 3 games out on the outside looking in. So when you look at these teams, Celtics, Heat, Hornets, Pacers, Wizards, which do you think could cause the most problems getting out of the play-in and into the bracket?
Well, all of those teams have done a great job of putting themselves in this position, and they're all well coached. And so I wouldn't want to play any of them. But the two teams that stand out to me, obviously, are the Celtics and the Heat. They have veteran players. They have tremendous versatility. These guys have been through these wars. They are the type of teams that we expected to be at the top earlier in the year. And they've been through all of it. So now as we get to the playoffs and they're not necessarily at the top, I'm not necessarily wanting to play against those two guys because we know what those teams are capable of. Eric Spoelstra, Brad Stevens, big-time, battle-tested coaches. And I just wouldn't want to be locked in the cage with those two.
LeBron will not play tonight against the Clippers to rest the ankles. The Lakers will face the Blazers tomorrow in back-to-back games. So you're talking about a team that's not healthy. What's Frank Vogel saying about LeBron's status for this game?
Yeah, well, he's certainly out for the Clippers game, but Frank Vogel has left the door open ever so slightly for LeBron to play against the Blazers on Friday. Now, certainly that's not the expectation. Adrian Wojnarowski already reported that they are anticipating not having LeBron for this back-to-back, but Vogel said it's going to be a day-to-day evaluation after the Clippers game, see how his body is feeling, and Vogel has pushed back against the idea of it being a setback that LeBron suffered against Toronto that caused him to miss the final 6 minutes and 42 seconds. His terminology was just that they went through the evaluation and they determined that it wouldn't be worth it to play him at that point. LeBron is just trying to do everything he can to ramp up in between games since he last sat out in order to get away that sharp pain he was experiencing in his first 2 games back. If he can feel comfortable not experiencing that in these practices that he's having individually, then you could see him sooner rather than later. But as of right now, the door's still open for Friday against the Blazers.
All right, so to reiterate, out tonight, door open tomorrow, but perhaps a slight window at that point for LeBron. He's just one of several key Lakers injuries this season. We've seen it all year, McMenamin. So what's Frank Vogel saying about the challenges of having to put together the Lakers lineup when it seemingly changes night in and night out?
Well, one shuffle that he's really having to deal with is what to do at the center position. Andre Drummond was the gem of the buyout market. They got him from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they thought they would have a guy who could replicate the space-eating and rim-protecting that Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee did for them a year ago when they won the championship. And that just hasn't been the case just yet. Now, he only had 4 points, 5 fouls, and 0 rebounds the other night when Marc Gasol came in and had a nice cameo. And this is what Frank Vogel is continuing trying to figure out. Do I go with Montrezl Harrell, who's instant energy and decent scoring off the bench? Do I go with Marc Gasol, who's a playmaker when I don't have my 2 point guards right now in LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder? Or do I go with Drummond, who we want to basically make sure he feels good and comfortable in his role because we want to re-sign him as a free agent this summer? And so there's a lot of roster math going on here, but the center position is such a key part, especially in today's game, because some teams don't even play a center. And then what do you do?
Clippers, we have them on one hand close to being whole, and the Lakers, we just talked about it, piecing it together. I mean, Vogel is still making adjustments. There are only 7 games left in the regular season. Can you flip a switch like that? I mean, take us through all the challenges, and we haven't even mentioned, Dennis Schroeder missing time as well.
Well, I think that's the big thing is health. If they don't have health, if LeBron's not healthy, if Schroeder's not healthy, they're going to be in trouble, because what I'm going to tell Coach Vogel is get your press attack ready, because teams are going to pick up Caruso. They're going to pick up the young kid, Horton Tucker, and really try to put a lot of pressure on them to enter offense and to make plays. And so I'm really focused on the health of those guys, and that's what I would be preserving as we go down the stretch. Right now, seeding doesn't matter for the Lakers. The Lakers, that's not a big deal. They know if they can get healthy, the type of team they put on the floor is a championship team. And as for the big man position, I think if you could get all 3 of those bigs to understand, I'm going to use you based on the scenario, based on the situation, because you all bring different things and different strengths. If you can get them to buy into that, you really got a lot of weapons there at the center position, also understanding that you can move AD there. So I think that's where Frank Vogel is at. And like I said, that's a good problem to have when you got so much talent.
Listen, they won a championship with him. You would think that everybody would buy into what the coach wants to do. And in your opinion, you say that includes resting guys potentially in these back-to-backs. Yeah.
And all 3 bigs are new. They weren't with them.
That's right.
All 3 bigs were new, so the buy-in has to occur differently. It's not like you're asking the guys that already won it to buy in. No. You're asking 3 new players who weren't there to all buy in and trust.
Yeah, but he's got the credibility. And you know what I thought you were throwing up when you said 3? You know what I thought you were throwing up? 3 different back-to-backs over the final 7 regular season games.